All right, we're ready to start a new van. It's another Chevy Express, but what I want to talk to you about today is converting a conversion van. And what I mean by that, many of the vans you're going to find on the used market already have had a previous life. You know, it could have been a wheelchair accessible, transport vehicle, could have been an ambulance, a school bus, airport shuttle. But a lot of what you're going to find is what I call a conversion van. They came from the factory straight to a van conversion company. They put a high top roof on them, which is a big advantage if you're buying a used van. They put in captain's chairs, entertainment systems, everything else. But what you're going to find is a lot of non-standard wiring and things like that. And so that leads you to some decisions to make about what you're going to salvage, what you want to get rid of, as well as just a little bit of confusion. It's not so easy to go to an owner's manual or a repair manual and figure things out with wiring diagrams and things like that. So we're going to work through some of those issues. The other issue with buying a used van is looks good on paper, looks good on Craigslist, looks good on the internet. And you go pick it up and you get a quick pre-purchase. Are you ready to dump a bunch of money into that van yet? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say go take it for a trip. Take it for a drive. If you want to just demo the back and go camp out of it for 2 weeks, that'd be great. But put some effort into finding out mechanically, is it a trustworthy vehicle before you put the effort either with yourself or by paying somebody to do a conversion in this van. This owner lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The best thing she could find was in Kansas City, Missouri. And a lot of you are going to be searching nationwide. And she said, well, I've got to drive it all the way down there. And I told her, I said, that is perfect. By the time you get it to me in Houston, you're going to have 600 miles on it, and you're going to know what's right and what's wrong with it. So she picked it up, started driving it. It drives really nice. It started up. Luckily, this had gauges on the dash. I was talking to her on the phone while she was driving. I said, watch your temperature gauge, your oil pressure gauge, and things like that. And if all of those things stay good, then you're going to make it back to Houston. So after that trip, you start to figure out a few things that you want to change. And you want to take care of that before you put the effort into doing the conversion. So far, minor issues. She found a dependable van, paint's in really good shape. So she got a high top van. Good paint, reliable. It appeared that the owner kept up with the maintenance and the oil changes. They had tons of records on this, so good deal. So now you look at what do you want to salvage out of the previous build. And a lot of these vans, even though the carpet might be a little shabby and things from 20 years of wear or whatever, I call it from the waist up, they look pretty good. We looked at this van and we're going to salvage everything basically from the window line up. The side panels, the ceiling panel was in real good shape. That's phase one of this project, is deciding what we're going to keep, doing the demolition, getting the carpet and the last of the conversion package out of here, and sorting out the electricals so that we know what we want going forward. We want to have a simple electrical system that when this van is parked and the key is turned off, everything is going to run off of your house battery, off your lithium battery, and it's not going to leave you stranded. You can always have your little jump start battery pack. Those are a good idea, but let's don't use our start battery as our electrical source for our refrigerator and all those other sorts of things. So let's get started on this van. I've already done the demo. I've ripped out the carpet and everything. It was in pretty rough shape. So now what we're left with is this extensive electrical system that was in the van that had TVs, entertainment. It had other lighting, had indirect lights. And this is powered by a panel that is in a bad spot for our conversion. It's going to be buried back behind where we're going to put the kitchen cabinet, so it would be fairly inaccessible. And it's powered all the time off the main battery. So we need to solve that problem. And that's one of the things I'm going to do today, is begin tracing wires, because the lights in the ceiling and in the indirect lights, they're kind of nice. I think we'll try to swap them out with some LED light bulbs and salvage what we can. But I want them wired in a different way, and I want them switched in a panel that we can access. And I want them on the house battery, not the start battery of the vehicles. I previously did install the MaxxAir fan, so I'll show you that. I didn't get a lot of video done last week. If you follow my Instagram account, we had some issues with one of my favorite dogs, and you know, that was tough, and but didn't shoot a lot of video last week, so apologize about that, but we were busy. Well, here comes Annie, so we still have a lot of dogs around. Okay, so now I'm in the van, and right behind the driver's seat here in the wall we had a fuse panel that was fourth conversion. This controlled the entertainment package for the previous conversion. And in addition, we have an amplifier here that's currently in use. So I need to keep this live. The ignition lead will turn this on and off. In fact, in this switch panel here, I think I've already identified this blue wire as possibly being the ignition. And we'll show you how we're going to test all this. So basically, we're going to start to separate the wires. We identified these two belong to the electric couch, and we already know what those are, and we're going to abandon those. But there's a lot of other wiring here that runs to the lighting package in here that we want to save. So what I'm going to be doing is pulling each one of these connectors. So we'll pull each one of these connectors and test these leads. One thing I've used in the past, I've got a test wire that I use. I've got this connected directly to the battery. So what I can do now is take this negative and positive and connect to each one of these pins and then see what lights up in the van. And once I figure that out, I'll label each of these wires and leave them hanging here so that we can extend these to a switch and a fuse panel that's going to be in our kitchen cabinet that'll be right here. And once we've identified what each one of these circuits do, we'll be able to remove this and get it out of here. And any unused wiring will either cap off or cut back and abandon. There's just a rat's nest of wiring. And the vast majority of this is not used anymore. But all this other stuff we'll figure out what we want and what we want to get rid of. We certainly need to keep the amplifier running, so we'll do that. So I wanted to show you one of the ways you can get some wiring done inside your van if it's already got an interior and you're having difficulty getting some of the panels off. I was able to get a lot of the panels off up in the front of the van, but back here in this back corner it's kind of tight and couldn't get some of the things apart. There's various tools you can use. This little spring-loaded device, it's got a plunger on one end, and when you plunge it, it's got these little grabber teeth, and you can put it down into, you know, you could put that down into the hole and then try to grab it, you know, when it comes out the bottom. This little section here was too far to do that, so I'm using what's called a fish tape. And you can get them at any Home Depot, and a lot of times you can rent these as well. This one, it's usually a stiff piece of steel, fiberglass or something, but I shoved it down in there. I got it all the way down here at the bottom, and then I zip tied my wire there, and now I'm going to pull at the top, and it's going to pull my wire out the top. So we're gonna keep pulling, and then there it is. So there's our wire, and what we're trying to pull this wire for is I'm gonna have an outdoor kitchen right here with a pull-out stove. And so up here on the back, I want to have a down light that shines on the cooking area. And then over the center here, I want to do a red and white LED that'll illuminate the whole back of the van, so that at night, if you want to get something out, you'll have that. So this is one of the ways you can pull wire through the van if you're having difficulty. So I've run wire in many of the other locations. This is going to be a down light that's going to look down on the kitchen counter from this direction. This wire will look down at this direction. I've got another light because I had a specific request that I get a strong reading light right here at the passenger's chair. The owner likes to knit and do other crafts and wanted a nice strong light right here. I've also run another light right here in the middle of the cabin just to illuminate the main cabin. I have isolated all these other lights. I've got these working, And I'm going to leave those attached to the van. I've got the Max Air fan running. You may have remembered me showing you the rat's nest that was here the other day with that other panel. What we were able to do was this black, orange, and red right here came from the van. So the red was power, the black was ground, and the orange was an ignition signal. And that's used to turn radios on and off, things like that. So I now have salvaged all the wiring that I needed to keep the amplifier and the stereo hooked up to the van correctly. All of this new wire you see, this is the stuff that I've been running to get these ceiling lights done. So like this one is going to be a passenger side knitting light. That's a driver's side kitchen down light. That's the overhead light. That's the Max fan. And that's the rear kitchen light. Now, there's some wiring here that we are salvaging from the original van. Very little of it though. That's the overhead lights, is this white one. I'm calling these the mood lights. They're these wood valances right there have strip lighting underneath it. It's very dim. I'm going to replace it with some LED downlights that's quite a bit brighter. So that'll give you a downwash over the kitchen cabinet and back over the bed and everything, so that you can make the bed and do things like that. Have some lighting back there, in addition to that big overhead that I'm going to have up here. You always want to be able to switch the lights separately. Sometimes you want to be a little quieter than others, and sometimes you need as much light as you can get. So I think I've got all the overheads run. I've got all the lights that I want to put in the ceiling and at the back door. And once I finish up these last cables here that I was fishing through the wall, then I will close up all the panels. Everything will be run back here. It'll be behind the kitchen sink, and I'll make my connections later. I'll try to do some sort of quick connects on these so that if and when we ever need to pull the kitchen cabinet, it'll be easier to do that. So the interior lighting package of the van came out really good. I was happy with what we accomplished in the past couple of days. You can kind of see them through the windows here, and it's got a really nice look to it. I'll show you a little bit of a close-up on the interior lights. You can see that overhead and the indirect lights make it nice and pleasant. And here it is without the overhead, and I really like the way the indirect lights came out as far as how comfortable it's going to be inside. I'm not a fan of having that real bright overhead light on you, so I think it's going to be a comfortable space to kind of sit down and relax in the evening. So over the course of this video, we've talked about getting rid of a previous electrical system, what it takes to convert a conversion van. Hopefully this is a good video for you. I'm going to start building cabinets in the next video, so we'll see you next time.